Yep. Zeep. Here we go. Tales of the Wild Zeep. No idea what this does. And, oh, okay. Actually clicking.
Tales of the...
Oh, oh, there's like... Okay, we gotta turn this down for a start, because it's fucking too loud. I need a... Okay. Choose a zip-zinging tale. Maybe we need some help. Click on the book. Pick a tale. Yeah, okay. Oh, there's page. Oh, yeah, turn the page. This controls for volume. Glossary. There's a glossary for all the bullshit words in this. Hey, I'm a zebra. Okay. Right, so I guess we're going for each one. So yeah, I've seen some other people cover this one. I think LGR has. But yeah, it did look like hot garbage. I don't think Vinny's done this one. Possible. I think Joel might have from Vine Source. But don't quote me. Let's have a look.
The Wild Zeep's first performance.
Oh, that audio though. Just a little fart noise.
The Wild Zeep was starring in the local Zeep production of Romeo and Juliet. It was his first performance, but everyone was counting on him to make the play a hit.
And nice, I don't have to touch anything. Excellent.
You see, the Wild Zeep was talented in many ways and had made quite a reputation for himself.
I can imagine. Look at him. Just set to be a star.
Hilda Drampit, the stern director, took him backstage after every rehearsal to say,
It's up to you, oh Wild Zeep, to make this play a
And
smash.
yeah,
so the Wild Zeep
even in the
practiced
90s,
his
no one
lines
used the fucking
23
pop
hours
filter for their
every
microphones.
day for 23 days.
Or kept it far enough away, like I do. Like I've got... Yeah, that's my mic there. Yeah, don't breathe on your microphone. It
As
fucks
he
up the sound.
dragged his sleepy Zeep body home, the neighborhood Zeeplings followed, tugging on his sleeves, begging for his autograph.
What?
Zeepling.
Oh, you can jump into like a glossary. Okay. Nah, can we keep going with the story?
As he dragged...
Yeah, we read that one. Alright. No, I'm just not going to touch. I thought you'd click on extra shit, but we're just going to listen to
cried
this
little
garbage.
Morris Mills as Sally Spottle, with a tiny 2-inch camera, snapped photo after photo of him.
12 miles later.
Trudge. 12 miles later. The Wild Zeep reached his extra soft ostrich feather bed with the cloud blossom pillows and had just begun to sip his favorite blackberry tea with lemon cream and honey when...
Lemon cream with blackberry? Yeah, gross. No thanks. Yes, my phone is one of those old school back massages. Yeah, this is a special kind of awful, isn't it?
It was the Wild Zeep's great aunt Zelda, once removed, calling from Alaska to give him some practical advice. Of the 334 Zeeps with acting ability, Aunt Zelda was the top talent. Years ago, she had won fame and fortune through her act as a skydiver who saves a swan.
And this is the sad thing. Someone actually wrote this story. It comes across as if it was like AI generated, but unfortunately it's not. Yeah, okay. Skip on.
Whatever are you doing, up, awake, and about, O wild Zeep?
Aunt Zelda scolded.
As an actor soon to make a smash hit, sleep should be your main concern. Every excellent actor needs at least 12 hours of sleep. Dreams, too. Every good actor must have 2 zip-zinging dreams a day.
So what do you do about that? If you can't sleep and you can't dream?
Please, Aunt Zelda.
Sighed the wild Zeep wearily.
Okay.
I was just this split second going to sleep and...
Oh, wild Zeep, please forgive me.
Interrupted Aunt Zelda earnestly.
If nothing else, I do know how important sleep is to the budding actor about to make a smash.
Huh.
The wild Zeep had snoozed off and hung up the phone in his sleep.
You know, oh, he's got pants on, thank fuck.
The next day,
Yeah.
the wild Zeep leaped out of bed with far more zing and zip than he'd had in his life. Tonight would be his first performance.
I seriously have to clean my desk at some point. Starting to get a bit gross.
I must say, a wild Zeep.
The wild Zeep said to himself after pouring hot chocolate in his oatmeal bowl and oatmeal in his strawberry juice glass.
If this is the life of a star, it is a strange life indeed.
Yeah, okay.
Priscilla Putterlip poked her head in the wild Zeep's kitchen.
Ready to make a smash hit?
She sang out. The wild Zeep felt his neck prickle. His thumbs start twiddling and his head turn oddly heavy.
Excuse me, Priscilla,
The wild Zeep said politely.
but I must run.
And run did he ever.
There he
That
is.
Wild Zeep hurled down the ruddy road from his house, sped up an avenue here, galloped down
His-
a street there, raced here, there, and
Shorts with
everywhere.
the suspenders makes him look like
Thoughts of
SpongeBob
smash hits, vain
SquarePants.
fortune were scrambling up his brain.
I saw him breathing in and out.
Gasped the
I wonder if
wild
he
Zeep.
breathed
Mile
in enough,
8,
does it
by
all
mile
fall
17,
off?
He'd remembered only one word in the third act. And at mile 20, the wild Zeep skidded to a stop, rested his heavy head on a large, cool white rock, and fell fast asleep.
Yeah, because that's what you do when you're about to have a performance. Look at those knees. That's creeping me out a little bit. Oh dear.
Who can this be so sound asleep in the middle of the day? It looks like the much-mentioned...
Right, at the very least, this is a
Two
step up
butterflies,
from
Frida and Alfred,
you know, Ninja
hovered
Nanny,
above the
because it's
wild
all being
Zeep
read
in
out.
his
I don't have to read this out
asked
myself.
Frida.
I thought tonight was his
Took me
great performance
2
with Romeo.
fucking hours to get through bloody Ninja Nanny. Oh.
Oh no, Romeo!
Groaned the wild Zeep, awakened by the sweet voices of butterflies.
Why, oh no.
Asked Alfred curiously.
You're not looking forward to your smash hit performance?
Smash hit this, smash hit that, and fiddle sweeps to all that splat. Oh, drat!
Cried the wild Zeep.
How can my performance this evening be a smash hit before it's performed? I've never acted in public. Everyone from Mr. Armpit to the teeniest zeepling thinks that somehow I'm going to make this a smash hit. Why, I can't remember my own lines. And talent? They talk about talent. I have no more talent than a spoon.
The wild Zeep was just not himself. His head felt heavier still.
Well, it's just sitting there thinking about
Cried Frida.
is the Wild Zeep inspired by like the troll dolls
So,
from the
Agreed
90s?
Alfred, who knew a thing or two about acting and, in general, greatly appreciated the arts. This calmed the wild Zeep down a bit, and he asked the butterflies,
Can you wondrously winged folk give me some advice for my first performance?
Alfred and Frida looked
Yeah,
at
and I
one
notice
another.
his hair's down. It's not
Well,
straight up
Said
like a
Alfred
troll.
slowly.
Just
So maybe
keep
he's
in
one of the
mind
lucky ones that
you're
didn't get a
out.
pencil up the
Depends on
arse.
what's inside the wild Zeep, and not what everyone out there expects or thinks of the wild Zeep.
I suppose we're getting through the story reasonably quickly.
Chimed in Frida.
We've still got
Forget
2 to
about
go
everyone
after
out there and
this.
listen to your insides.
She then flew over to Alfred and whispered something in his ear.
What'd you say?
Alfred
I said...
nodded.
If only I had as much wisdom as you two. You remind me of my great-grandfather Zeep.
Said the wild Zeep respectfully as the three headed toward the theater. He continued,
Would you like some free tickets too?
but before he could finish his sentence, lo!
No.
Frida and Alfred had flown straight into his open
Okay,
mouth.
so he's going to get caught out with butterflies in the stomach. Oh, those sound effects, though.
The wild Zeep jumped 8 miles high and started laughing, giggling, and guffawing. Butterflies tickle mightily when first swallowed.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
From deep within the wild Zeep, the butterflies sang to him.
Don't worry about us.
Good luck in your performance, and we'll see you afterwards.
You have only half an hour before you must be on stage.
Well, if they can talk to him, they can prompt him with lines if he forgets.
Hilda Drampet, the stern director, pulled at his ear, rumpled his hair, and started lecturing him on Romeo. But the wild Zeep heard none of her words. He was not himself.
He was high on
A
drugs.
crowd of Zeeplings hooted outside his dressing room.
So how's he a superstar if he's never
His
done a
friends and
performance before?
relatives chattered on and on about stardom.
And I'll point this out again. People expected you to pay money for this shit in the
But
90s.
Wild
This,
Zeep was
I don't know
very
what
far
this
away.
went for, but I
He
imagine
no
it
longer
was
the
too
Wild
much.
Zeep.
It probably ended up in a bargain
He
bin for like
was
$10.
Romeo. As he strode on stage, the lines flowed from his lips effortlessly.
Quite good.
Excellent.
A superior acting job.
Hardly an act at all.
Everybody was much impressed, and soon the theater was absolutely quiet, except
Yeah,
for
I've
the
got
voices
a
of the
kink in my
actors.
back at the moment. It's giving me the shits.
That while the Rona by that name is known, there shall no figure at such rate be set as that of true and faithful Juliet.
Oh yeah, you got the lines right at least. I bet you any money I'm gonna get content ID on this song.
Suddenly, Romeo was speaking his last words. There was a wild burst of applause, and the wild Zeep, in a daze, looked up to see the whole audience as one rise to praise his magnificent performance.
Yeah, righto.
He gasped with such force, Alfred and Frida flew right out of his mouth.
Congratulations!
They cried.
A splendid performance, and we had the best seats of all.
How? You were in his stomach. Trying not to be digested.
The wild Zeep said gratefully.
I could never have done it without you. I will always remember you. Take a bow.
Yeah, righto. Right off.
So the three friends bowed and bowed and bowed till the sun rose the next morning. Compliments of the wild Zeep They had starfruit pancakes and blackberry nectar for
So I'm
breakfast.
just trying to find
and
that. Oh,
slept
there it is.
well onto sunset.
Yeah, I gotta stick
Both
me
star
yoga
actors
ball in
and
me back.
butterflies need their 12 hours of solid sleep.
Oh yeah, there we go. Daddy like.
Nobody would have ever guessed the wild Zeep had butterflies in his stomach the evening of his first performance.
Is that is he snoring or sleep farting? What the hell is up with this guy? And you already know he's a douchebag because he wears Crocs. Look at them Crocs. The end. What a pile of garbage. That's terrible. I haven't quite got this ball in the right spot, I don't think. Because I get like a little swollen lump on my vertebrae. If I get the yoga ball in the right spot, it kind of pushes in. Helps push it around a little bit. Just give me a sec. Hang on. No. Yeah. As soon as I lean back, and I know it's in the right spot. There we go. Right. The wild Zeep swallows a cloud. Let's do it. No, I need to get it under. It's not kind of... No, the ball's not working today. Okay. I might have to like lie down on it directly a bit later on.
A cloud.
Just try the cushion for now.
The morning the wild Zeep swallowed a cloud, his face turned gray, his hair white, and he rose high above the treetops and began sailing west.
I don't think I'm cut out for this.
He said unhappily as a bird flew through him.
My feet enjoyed the feel of the earth too much.
He was worried because he had been invited for dinner at Zeep's house and he didn't want to be late.
Well, if you fly over and turn back from a cloud, you're sorted. I don't know about Zema though. She's a bit weird looking.
Was a proud Zeep
Why does
who
she
cooked
look like the
days
carrot
in
she's
advance
holding?
For special dinners. So it was especially important for the wild Zeep to be prompt.
And I'll definitely
Wild
give
Zeep
props
couldn't
to
steer the
like the
clouds
Foley
long
sound
and
effects
wondered
guys
if it
because
would ever
they
land.
put in a hell of a lot
He
more
was
work
not a
than
wild
what they
Zeep
did for
with
everything
fondness
else.
For heights. So when he swallowed the cloud, he felt a bit queasy.
Just legit looks like he's on a drug trip, if anything. Bloody kids these days, always on the drugs. Oh,
He drifted
what?
over to Tessie Turdig's house where he
What?
found her doing her 50 push-ups. She was a treblu bug who lived high in the bark of a wild sycamore tree, so needed to stay in shape.
Oh, good, we know where she lives so we can set her on fire.
At 7,300 feet, sap beetles were plentiful, juicy, and sweet, perfect for an appetite such as hers.
Well, that's just legit terrifying. Oh, you're gonna keep bringing her up? Really?
Why, oh wild Zeep,
Cried Tessie as he hovered near her door.
you have become plump and gray, and I have never, ever known you to float through the air. Usually, you leap, hop, and skedaddle up my tree to visit me.
I know.
Said the wild Zeep unhappily.
It was my great
Yeah,
misfortune
like
to have
whatever the
been
hell
following
this thing
that
is, it looks like
this morning.
a possum
don't
that
know where I'm headed
guts fights
or
in
when I'll land.
Berserk.
And it's sure to be a dark day.
What a creepy
Well,
thing.
I believe
Said Tessie practically.
the cloud in your belly is making you act and feel like a cloud, and affecting the mood of everyone around you.
How do you fucking swallow a cloud anyway? You have to be like up in the air.
True enough. When the wild Zeep looked down, he saw all the woodland creatures moping about, shuffling along, or getting into fights.
He's looking at the Frankston side of the woodlands. Was that?
Yes, I'd
Oh, that
better
was
go
intentional.
somewhere
Okay.
else.
He said miserably. Now, as you know, usually the wild Zeep was a light-hearted, skylarking creature skipping about, singing, or playing one of his 72 violins. He would offer freely his foolproof Zeep wisdom to any creature who
Oh,
needed
yeah, I'm sure he's full of wisdom. Yeah, righto.
And always around 4:30 in the afternoon, he would begin whipping up a delicious banana rhubarb crisp or some apple sop soup topped with orange rind and ginger butter for any friend who stopped by after dusk to chat. Most folks would find themselves grinning at the mere sight of the wild
Yeah, that's
Zeep.
true. He makes me
There
laugh.
was no doubt that being a cloud was contrary to the nature of the wild Zeep.
Actually, the music's not too bad on this either. Just this fucking thing.
Tessie the
Terrifying.
Treblu bug was beginning to feel a little testy, so she hastily bid farewell to
Basically
the wild
looked
Zeep,
like a
who
giant
continued
line
to
of
wander
testes
in a
with
westerly
legs.
direction. He had a bad spell, caught in the afterdraft of a helicopter, where he spread so thin he nearly disappeared, coughing and spitting up the fumes. How strange to be so light, and yet so somber, the wild Zeep thought to himself grimly.
I have no words.
Wild Zeep.
He said, for speaking out loud to himself had helped him through many a bad spot in his past.
What would great-grandfather Zeep do in a spot like this?
Probably would have tried to shave off his wiry pubic hair beard. Maybe? I don't know.
He recalled the story his great-grandfather told him about the time he'd been practicing goose and swan dives.
Okay, I know what a
caught in
swan
the
dive
ferocious
involves. What the
current
fuck's a
of the
goose dive?
Stormy-Kill River. Great-grandfather just let his Zeep body flow with the current till he wound up safely on shore a few hundred miles away from his home. He
Face,
gritted
though.
his teeth till he realized clouds don't have teeth. He tried heading north, where most clouds belong, till he realized clouds are pushed along by wind. When no wind blew, the wild Zeep hunched up in the air, feeling sorry for himself, angry at the cloud which had lodged itself in his belly, and worried about missing Zema Zeep's dinner.
They just keep using the same picture over and
Sorrier,
over again.
Angrier and more worried he grew, the more like a cloud he grew. Other clouds began pushing toward him and bumped, bullied, shoved, rolled, and lumped smack blam right into the wild Zeep.
Okay. There's a Wolverine cloud.
Hey, Bob.
Cried the wild
Hey,
Zeep.
bub.
What do you think you're doing?
A mean, tough-looking cloud said. You talking to me?
Oh, Robert De Niro
Another
cloud. Nice.
jeered.
What kind of cloud are you, anyway?
All the clouds began pushing and shoving till the poor wild Zeep, well, he was fit to burst.
Okay, moral of the story, don't eat clouds. They make you depressed and angry at things.
And burst he did. Hurdy-gurdy, the wild Zeep split into a million raindrops and was falling, kerplop. right down to earth in Zemma's garden, where she was picking a few ripe plum tomatoes for her famous, specially fresh scarlet salad. This salad contains...
Hang on, she says they said she makes
radishes, rhubarb,
dishes
apples,
like days
strawberries,
in
rose
advance,
petals, and
and all
other
she's
assorted
doing is a
fruits
fucking
and
salad.
vegetables.
Yeah, righto.
Zemma, known for
The Wild
calm
Zeep's
way
tasteful
about her,
Playboy
looked
shoot.
with no surprise at the Wild Zeep, who had landed amidst a bunch of cabbages.
Did you see that storm that just whipped through? That was a doozy. But you're looking thinner, Wild Zeep.
Zemma said concernedly, peering over her fancy spectacles. After giving him a peck on the cheek, she said,
Come on in for some creamy almond corn soup. That'll set you straight. Then we can exchange recipes and chat with my other guest this evening, Mr. Zeppelbrum.
Mr. Zeppelbrum was a lily farmer who lived right up the road. He was famous for his mighty appetite and was especially partial to Zemma's creamy soups. He had only one fear in the world. He was a bit scared of heights, so he wore a large hat to avoid looking at the sky.
Oh no, that's agoraphobia, buddy. That's something totally different.
So the evening went well.
What is that
until
pie?
Dessert. At first, both guests
Oh, it's
declined
cloud
her
cake,
famous
apparently.
buttercream
Okay.
cloud cake, which looked and tasted just like a cloud.
Terrible.
What?
Exclaimed Zemma.
No dessert? Unheard of in this house.
Mr. Zeppelbrum claimed to be absolutely stuffed to the chin, but the Wild Zeep bravely took spoon in hand to try the delightful
No!
confection.
Wild Zeep, what are you doing? You were just declared before.
For just a moment, the Wild
Oh, it
Zeep
didn't
had
work.
a spell
Okay.
of dizziness. But this soon passed. Quite relieved to be still on solid earth, the Wild Zeep praised their talented hostess by reciting his finest poetry in her honor.
That's
Roses are red, violets are
fucking
blue.
really.
Some poems
That's
rhyme,
just that's
but this
awful.
one doesn't.
Zemma Zeep was listening so intently, she polished off the whole buttercream cloud cake, and that night had wonderful dreams of flying between the stars.
And God, thank fuck for that. Oof. But yeah, I will say that. Like, it's still... Like, going by the music and the Foley artists alone, it still shits on Ninja Nanny. Definitely. Yeah, before we start the third, I'm just going to have a quick look to see if you can buy this on, like, eBay or anything like that. I just want to see what it's worth at this stage. Wild Zeep. Okay, there's a copy on eBay. Okay, you can buy the MS-DOS version for $24.99 US. They want 50 bucks Australian. More than 50 bucks Australian for this piece of shit. That's amazing. That's... Wow. Like, yeah, this is why I poo-poo people who get into physical media. Like, you can get this for free as abandonware from archive.org. Like, why buy a physical copy? Unless you're gonna use this like a very expensive coaster. And yeah, I will make it, like, yeah, that's why I don't like physical media anymore, because
Zeep
if it's not being produced by the publisher's just not going to get any money for it. And the other... What? Okay, what's the other thing in town?
The wild Zeep was eating dinner with his friend Slogarth the snail. He liked creatures who were hearty eaters, and he himself never refused seconds. They were eating the wild Zeep's famous celery stew, pickled beets, wild rice, a staple in every wild Zeep's diet. And for dessert, his exquisite butternut squash pie with sarsaparilla syrup.
What the hell was that noise?
Slogarth the snail leaned back and loosened his orange belt. That was a feast to dream about for weeks, he exclaimed. The wild Zeep said modestly,
Oh, it was nothing. I just threw this, that, and the other thing in a few pots and pans, and...
You know, said Slogarth suddenly, I've always wondered what the other thing was.
Huh?
Other thing?
God, they love using that in 90s CG, didn't they? The old fake lens
Asked
flares.
the wild Zeep with a puzzled look on his face. Yes, said Slogarth. This, that, and the other thing. Whatever is the other thing? The wild Zeep, for the life of him, could not figure out what the other thing was. Soon, Slogarth, after thanking his host 17 times over, trailed his slow, silvery way back to his cozy home under a beanstalk.
Look at that bloody mailbox. There it is. Crazy ass thing. Wow. Another tasteful pose for Playboy.
And the wild Zeep. Well, the wild Zeep did not sleep much that night.
We're actually
He
getting a
tossed,
lot of
turned,
leg in those
tumbled,
shots.
twisted and twiddled his thumbs till dawn.
Mr. Wild Zeep, are you trying to seduce me? I actually did watch Rain Man on Tuesday. Never seen it before.
As soon
Was
as
pretty
the
good.
sun rose,
Enjoyed that.
the wild
Because yeah, it
Zeep
was definitely
jumped
the
out of
first
bed with
movie out
such
there to
oomph,
cover
he hit his head on the ceiling
mainstream
and hollered
movie to
with
cover
such force,
autism.
He woke his wise Aunt Tildy clear across town. Immediately, she sped over to the wild Zeep's house.
I'll speed over to Wild Zeep's house. Definitely speeding over. I'm an excellent driver. Not wearing my underwear. Not getting from Kmart. Kmart, Ohio.
Whatever is wrong with you?
Cried Aunt Tildy.
You're never up at the first crack of dawn.
The wild Zeep said,
I have not slept a wink since thinking about the other thing.
What is the other thing?
Oh, is this like the game that they used to play on the internet?
asked the curious Aunt
The
Tildy.
one where if you
I
ever
know
become
it
aware of the
now.
game, you lose
I'll
it.
let you know in a week.
Said the wild Zeep with determination.
You all just lost, by the way. So did I.
And off he skipped and flew and sailed for many days to hunt down the other thing. For like all
Why
Zeeps,
sail if you can fly?
Wild Zeep would not sleep until he found answers to his questions about life.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about this game too. Bit philosophical for a kid's book too, isn't it?
The wild Zeep poked through the luscious jungles, hunted in the hottest deserts, paddled through the bogged water of swamps, leaped from sand dune to iceberg till at long last.
It sounds
on the
like me just
shore of
trying
a
to find
little
metal
sea,
in Valheim.
he found the other thing.
So it's just, what, a weirdly coloured bush going from the picture. Well, I just read through that now, and that
Now,
just
the
all
wild
sounds
Zeep
like a
could
load
not
of crap.
tell you exactly how he knew it was the other thing, except it was not this, and not that, and could only be the other thing. It looked like a falling star. It felt cool and smooth as a mirror, and it smelled like the roots of a dandelion just unearthed.
I pulled up a lot of dandelions in my time. They don't really smell like anything.
So the wild Zeep put the other thing in his pocket, galloped furiously home.
And you said you could fly and sail, and now you've got a horse.
Planted it in his celery garden.
What? You're a weirdo, Zeep. I'll give you that. You're a fucking weird boy.
The wild Zeep had a mighty green thumb, so he knew what other things need in order to grow strong. He fed the other thing honeysuckle sap, shaded it with soft palms, and recited to it the most encouraging
Oh, you don't want to make a
poetry.
noise of soft palms?
Roses are
Okay.
red, violets are blue. I'll give the other thing anything. There's nothing I won't do.
The townfolk gathered around the talented wild Zeep and the other thing to watch him toil and the other thing bloom.
I must admit, I like this guy, because he kind of reminds me of, what's his face?
Zachary Zeep,
Randy
guard
Miller,
of the local
the guy who
greenhouse
did,
mask.
one of the brothers who
would
made
have
Mist.
thought there was such a thing as the other thing?
Well, said Slogarth humbly, the notion sort of slipped out at supper time.
Yes,
Joined in Aunt Tildy.
and the notion continued till dawn.
They looked admiringly at the wild Zeep as the wild Zeep worked. He worked so hard, he went through 12 pairs of gardener's gloves and had a sore throat from reciting so much poetry.
Hang on, is this meant to be an avatar of me?
Soon, the other thing grew taller
I might
than
have
all
to
of them,
screenshot that.
and the wild Zeep propped a ladder
Just
against
found
it
my
for
new
easy
Discord
climbing.
picture. Holy shit, okay, it got pretty big.
From each laden branch, a new thing bloomed rare.
Oh no, it
beautiful
wasn't a
blooms.
CG thing, the
Blossoms
lens
that
flares. It
looked
was
like
an
the
effect you
antlers of
could
an
put in
ancient
through,
wilderness.
like, Photoshop or one of those ones. Corel Draw, maybe.
Dew in a rainstorm. A syllable of sleep. An arrow as long as the world is round.
What?
A finch's wing. The silvery scale of a fish. A soprano.
Is this like an
highest
alchemy
note.
thing? Are they trying to make a fifth element?
The townfolk oohed
More sexy Playboy posing.
and odd. Applauded. Then went home to drink mulberry sap and dream about answers to life. They'd been awake for days watching the wild Zeep at work and were content to see the other thing in full bloom. The wild Zeep still did not sleep. He smelled a magic in the blossoms of the other thing and would not rest till he examined it more closely and smelled its scent more deeply.
Okay.
That evening, the wild Zeep climbed the ladder, rung by rung, to the very top where the wing blossom grew. This was one of his favorites. No sooner did the blossom fall into his hand when a strange feeling passed through him.
We're on our way. We're outside Barstow,
Suddenly, the
30
earth
miles
dropped
from Nevada,
beneath him.
when the drugs began to kick in.
He felt lighter than he ever dreamed possible.
Oh, what?
His arms bent like wire hangers. His heart beat faster than his thoughts, and from his throat came an amazing music.
What in the
The whole
ever-loving
world seemed to
fuck?
rush at him. The velvet bunch and brush of treetops swooped by his keen eye. Every
So the other
rustle
thing
of
is
grass
drugs.
far below him now,
Like
made his blood
hallucinogenics, like
race.
LSD or mushrooms or something like that. Yeah, that's just weird.
I'm flying!
Cried the wild Zeep.
I can't believe I'm flying!
Soon he was doing loop-de-loops, skating through air, plummeting, and lurching up again. There wasn't a more delighted wild Zeep in the whole universe. At the instant of dawn, he came to a halt and crashed back into the branches of the other thing.
God, this is so weird. This is such a weird fucking game. Yep. That somehow didn't kill him. I'm actually a little disappointed.
What a wondrous flight that was!
Exclaimed the wind-shook wild Zeep to himself, pulling some feathers from his head. He examined the branches and the million different blossoms and thought excitedly about all the days to come.
Endless possibilities! Endless dreams!
He whispered, then crawled into his soft Zeep bed.
Yeah,
sound
sleep it off,
asleep.
Zeep. That'd be a good idea.
The next day, the wild Zeep and Slogarth the snail were lunching on sweet asparagus and honey yam strudel. The wild Zeep excitedly told Slogarth all about his flight, while Slogarth, chomping on the delectable strudel, looked at him in disbelief.
Exactly, it's just like,
Nothing
what drugs
like
are you
what
been on, buddy?
described could possibly happen, even though you are a wild Zeep and my dear friend,
You just wait and see!
cried the wild Zeep.
Going off for another drug trip? I think he's on giant
He stepped
ecstasy
up his
tablets
ladder
now, or
to
maybe
the
more
tip-top of
LSD.
the other thing and
Just gonna
plucked
lick that
the
thing.
first blossom his hand brushed against. It was the silvery scale of a fish. The wild Zeep closed his eyes dramatically, waiting for the strange
How the
sensation
hell
to
do you
pass
do that?
through his body.
Close his eyes dramatically? What?
After a few minutes of not feeling a thing but the silvery scale blossom limp in his hand, the wild Zeep opened his eyes again. He scratched his head, shrugged, then dove headfirst into a bird basin.
The drugs are working, clearly.
Plunk!
Ouch!
He exclaimed.
What in the ever-loving fuck?
Meanwhile, Slogarth was calmly eating leftover marigold pollen pie and watching the foolish actions of the wild Zeep. I'm sorry, the snail finally sighed sympathetically, but I must
I do
go
apologize in
now
advance. Yeah, we've got
visit
a
my
park next door,
Uncle Hunch.
and there's like a little nature strip
Off
of
he
bushes
slid,
and stuff.
leaving a silvery wake.
I think someone's mowing or just trimming edges. And it's rubbish day
Wild Zeep
today
was
too.
disappointed he couldn't
Probably a few
share his
rubbish things
experience with
floating around.
Slogarth. But, true to the wild Zeep he was, he didn't brew and stew or feel blue because of this. First, he picked the blossom resembling a soprano's highest note, closed his eyes, and waited. Nothing. He even tried singing a few bars, but all he heard was his own Zeep tenor.
Oh, as if you're a fucking tenor. That's not a tenner.
He looked at the many rare and colorful blossoms, but didn't have the heart to pick any more. The wild Zeep realized that the other thing had lost some of its magic for him.
Well, why don't you bury the blossoms and try and grow another one?
Late that night, the wild Zeep dreamed he was in a brook, darting and pausing, floating and skimming on feathery fin, looking to either side. He woke the following morning, sadly knowing his dream was just a dream and not the magical other thing. Gazing forlornly out his window, he sensed a shadow behind him. It was his wise Aunt Tildy. The wild Zeep offered her some tangerine lime juice, sat her down at the kitchen table, and told her all about his experiences with the other thing. Then he asked for her foolproof Zeep advice.
So if Zeeps can give foolproof advice,
Tildy
why
said
doesn't he just
kindly,
take his own
I'm
advice?
sorry, O wild Zeep. It appears to me you turned the other thing into something. And now it's a different thing altogether and has lost the magic of being the other thing. It's a plain old something. You will never fly the way you flew, nor swim like a fish.
Dad, I will pay
All
you
like a
$20
star.
to stop reading me this story. I want to go and play Fortnite.
The wild Zeep was very quiet after this, but true to his Zeepish nature, didn't stay that way for long. Instead, he raced to his garden, dragging Aunt Tildy along to show her an especially magnificent stalk in his celery garden.
Now, isn't this something?
He cried with a wink in his eye.
Just smell the sweet air coming from the blossoms of something.
The wild Zeep spun Aunt Tildy about till she was out of breath.
And going by the music, I guess we're done? No, okay.
Aunt Tildy laughed a hearty Zeep
Helping
laugh
the wild
and spent
Zeep
the
weed.
rest of the afternoon helping the wild Zeep weed, water, and prune,
This whatchamacallit is really handy.
said Aunt Tildy to the wild Zeep, pointing to a gardening tool he'd never used before.
Yeah, it sounds like a gardening tool.
This what?
Cried the wild Zeep with a wild glint in his eye. Already, dreams of searching for the wild whatchamacallit were beginning to fill his head.
Where is she holding that gardening tool? Well, that ends down here somewhere.